I met my wife, Sarah, 14 years ago at the gym. I was 22, she was 19, and it was love at first sight. She was running on a treadmill, and I was instantly captivated. I mustered up the courage to ask if she could spot me during my workout. After we finished, I struck up a conversation, gave her a couple of compliments, and asked for her number. I was confident, and it worked. We started going to the gym together and talking about our lives, our dreams, and our families. A couple of days later, I asked her out to a cafe. We had a great time talking about ourselves, and then we went to the cinema. That night, I kissed her for the first time, and we ended up at my place. You can probably guess what happened next. I'm 36, Sarah is 33, and we have a 13-year-old son. We live in a nice house. It's winter now, and I was outside shoveling snow while Sarah was inside. I'm a trainer, but I don't work at the same gym where Sarah works out. Unfortunately, there wasn't a position available there when I got my certification. For a while now, I've noticed that Sarah and I have been paying less attention to each other. Our sex life has dwindled, and we've become more like roommates than a married couple. I chalked it up to the usual stresses of life work, raising a kid, keeping up with the house, but deep down, I knew something was off. One day I finished work early and decided to surprise Sarah at the gym. I walked in and saw her on a treadmill, but she wasn't alone. There was a man with her, and they were laughing and chatting like old friends. I felt a pang of jealousy but tried to brush it off. I told myself it was probably nothing, just some gym buddy. But then, a few days later, I walked in on them again. Only this time it was different. The man, let's call him Mike, was kissing her. Without thinking, I ran up to them and punched him in the liver, then the face. I grabbed Sarah and shouted at her, dragging her out of the gym. When we got home, I packed her things and waited for her to come back. I called her multiple times, but she didn't answer. She only came home late that night. I told her I didn't want to hear from her again, showed her the packed clothes, and told her to take everything later. I made it clear that our son would stay with me and that I didn't want to think about her anymore. Now, I'm left here, trying to make sense of it all. We've been together for so long, and I never thought something like this would happen to us. Was it my fault? Was there something I could have done differently? I'm not sure what to do next. Should I try to talk to her and get some answers? Or should I just move on and focus on taking care of our son? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Let me take you back to how it all started. I was in the gym, working on my usual routine. Sarah caught my eye immediately. She was running on a treadmill, her ponytail bouncing with every stride. She had this determination in her eyes that was so attractive. After my workout, I waited for her to finish. When she stepped off the treadmill, I approached her. "Hey, I couldn't help but notice you. You seem really dedicated," I said, trying to sound casual. She smiled, a bit out of breath. "Thanks, I try to keep fit." "I'm Mark," I extended my hand. "Mind if I ask for a spot next time we're both here?" She looked a bit surprised, but nodded. "Sure, I'm Sarah." From there, it was like magic. We started working out together, sharing more about our lives with each session. I learned she was a college student studying to be a nurse. She learned I was trying to make a career in fitness. It was a perfect match. After a few gym sessions, I asked her out to a cafe. We talked for hours, and the connection was undeniable. We followed it up with a movie date, and by the end of the night, we had our first kiss. That kiss led to us going back to my place, and you can fill in the blanks. Life was great. We got married 3 years later and had our son shortly after. We were happy, really happy. But somewhere along the line, things changed. Maybe it was the routine, maybe it was the pressures of life, but we started drifting apart. About a year ago, I noticed that Sarah seemed distant. Our conversations were shorter, our intimacy had dwindled, and she was always busy or tired. I thought it was just a phase, that we were just in a rut. But then, little things started adding up. She was on her phone more, but when I asked, she'd brush it off as just chatting with friends. She'd come home late from the gym, saying she stayed for an extra workout or got caught up talking to people there. One night, I finished work early and decided to surprise her at the gym. I walked in and saw her on a treadmill, laughing with some guy. My heart sank, but I convinced myself it was nothing. They were just gym buddies, right? But then, a few days later, I saw them again. This time, he had his hand on her back, and they were way too close. I felt a knot in my stomach but still tried to brush it off. The day I caught them kissing was the breaking point. I was done with work early, excited to see Sarah and maybe go out for dinner. I walked into the gym and saw them in the corner, near the weight machines. He leaned in, and she didn't pull away. I saw red. Without thinking, I charged at him. The punch to the liver took him down, and a second one to the face made sure he stayed down. I grabbed Sarah and dragged her out of there, ignoring the shocked looks from the people around us. At home, I was furious. I packed her things and waited for her to come back. I called her over and over, but she didn't pick up. When she finally came home, it was late. She looked shocked to see her things packed. "What's going on, Mark?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I know what's going on, Sarah. I saw you with him. I saw you kissing him," I shouted. Her face went pale. "Mark, it's not what you think." "Not what I think. I saw it with my own eyes. How long has this been going on?" She didn't answer, just stood there with tears streaming down her face. I showed her the packed bags. "You need to leave. Our son stays with me. I don't want to hear from you again." She tried to explain, to justify, but I was done. I didn't want to hear it. I just wanted her gone. She left that night, taking only a few things. I haven't heard from her since. Now I'm trying to pick up the pieces. Our son is devastated. He doesn't understand why his mom isn't home. I've told him that sometimes grown-ups need time apart, but he's not buying it. He misses her. And as much as I hate what she did, I know he needs his mom. I'm left wondering what I did wrong. Did I not give her enough attention? Was I too focused on work? Did I miss the signs? I feel like a failure as a husband and a father. I keep replaying everything in my mind, trying to pinpoint where it all went wrong. I've talked to my brother about it. He's been supportive, but he's also angry. He wants to confront her, but I've told him to stay out of it. This is between me and Sarah. But his anger matches my own, and it's comforting to know that someone else feels my pain. I've been trying to keep things normal for our son. We've been going to his soccer games, and I'm making sure he's keeping up with his schoolwork. But he's not the same. He's quieter, more withdrawn. I don't know how to help him. A part of me wants to talk to Sarah, to understand why she did this, but another part of me is so angry and hurt that I can't even think about seeing her. I don't know if I can ever forgive her. Trust is shattered, and I don't know if it can ever be rebuilt. So here I am, pouring my heart out to strangers on the internet, hoping for some advice. What should I do? Should I try to talk to her and get some answers? Or should I just move on and focus on taking care of our son? How do I help him through this? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Hey everyone, I'm back for another update. Things have been rough, and I could really use some advice. In just a few days, it felt like my whole life fell apart. We had 14 years of marriage, and now everything is in chaos. One day I went to work, thinking it was just another ordinary day. But when I got back, everything changed. I didn't know what to do or where to turn. I thought carefully and decided that I needed to tell my parents. They had always been my rock, and I knew I couldn't go through this alone. I texted them, letting them know that Sarah and I were breaking up because she betrayed me. I didn't go into details, just said it was the end. My mom texted back almost immediately, saying they'd come over tomorrow. That gave me a bit of comfort, knowing they were on their way. Next, I thought about telling my friends. I needed their support too. I texted a few of them and explained the situation. They were shocked but supportive. They told me to meet up with them so I could relax and take my mind off things for a bit. We went out, drank some alcohol, and talked about everything and nothing. It was a good distraction, even if just for a few hours. The next day, my parents arrived. We sat in the living room and talked about my divorce, my future plans, and life in general. It was a tough conversation, but it felt good to have their support. My mom was worried about me, and my dad was trying to be strong for all of us. They offered to help in any way they could, and I was grateful for that. I also knew I had to tell my brother. He was working on a construction site, and I didn't want to bother him, but he needed to know. I called him and asked if he could come over when he had a break. He agreed and showed up a few hours later, covered in dust and sweat. We sat down with a couple of cold beers from the fridge and talked about the divorce and what I was planning to do next. Just having him there, sharing a drink and some brotherly advice, made me feel a bit better. Now I'm back to living alone, trying to navigate this new reality. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm still trying to process everything. My son is staying with me, but he's been quiet and withdrawn. I'm trying my best to be there for him, but I feel like I'm failing him too. It's hard to know what to say or do when I'm still trying to make sense of it all myself. Sarah hasn't tried to contact me since she left. Part of me is relieved, but another part of me is angry. How could she just walk away like this? After everything we've been through, it feels like she just threw it all away. I keep replaying our last conversation in my head, wondering if there was something I missed, something I could have done to prevent this. But the truth is, she made her choice, and now I have to live with it. I've been trying to keep things as normal as possible for our son. We go to his soccer games, and I'm making sure he's keeping up with his schoolwork. But he's not the same. He's quieter, more withdrawn. I don't know how to help him, and it's breaking my heart. I just want to make things better for him, but I feel so lost. My friends have been great, but there's only so much they can do. They can distract me for a while, but when I'm alone, the reality hits hard. I miss the life I thought I had, the future I thought we were building together. Now it's all gone, and I'm left picking up the pieces. I know I need to focus on the future, but it's hard when the past is still so fresh. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Should I try to reach out to Sarah and get some closure? Or should I just move on and focus on taking care of our son? How do I help him through this? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Talking to my brother was helpful. He's always been the strong one, the one who has his life together. Seeing him struggle to find the right words to comfort me made me realize how much this has affected everyone. He told me that I need to take things one day at a time and focus on what's best for my son and myself. It was simple advice, but it resonated with me. My parents stayed with me for a few days. It was comforting to have them around, even if it was just for a short time. My mom cooked meals, and my dad helped around the house. It felt almost normal, like when I was a kid. But then they left, and the silence was deafening. I realized that I needed to find a way to move forward, for my son's sake and mine. I've been thinking a lot about what my friends said, about taking some time for myself. It's hard to imagine taking a break when there's so much to deal with, but maybe it's what I need. I've considered taking a few days off work, just to clear my head and figure out what to do next. I need to be strong for my son, and I can't do that if I'm falling apart. In the meantime, I'm trying to keep busy. Work has been a good distraction, and I've been spending more time with my son. We've started a new routine, just the two of us. It's not the same, but we're managing. I know it's going to take time to heal, but I have to believe that we'll get through this. If anyone has any advice on how to move forward, I'd really appreciate it. How do you cope with a betrayal like this? How do you rebuild your life when everything has fallen apart? And most importantly, how do I help my son through this? He's the most important thing in my life, and I just want to make sure he's okay. Thanks for listening. It feels good to get this off my chest, even if it's just to strangers on the internet. Your support means more than you know. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. First off, I want to thank all of you for your support. Your comments and messages have really helped me through this tough time. It's amazing how strangers on the internet can offer such comfort and advice. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, on to what's been happening lately. I knew I needed more evidence for the court to ensure that Sarah didn't get half of the house. I wasn't going to let her betrayal ruin my future any more than it already had. So I decided to hire a private detective. I told him which gym she goes to and the car she drives. It felt weird and a bit like something out of a movie, but I knew it was necessary. After giving him all the details, all I could do was wait. In the meantime, Sarah came back to the house to pick up the rest of her things. I wasn't looking forward to seeing her, but I knew it had to be done. When she showed up, she started apologizing right at the doorstep. She claimed that the man I saw her with was a relative. I was shocked by her audacity. Relatives don't kiss on the lips, at least not in my world. She tried to make me feel sorry for her, crying and saying it was my fault because I didn't pay enough attention to her. It was infuriating to hear her try to shift the blame onto me. During all this, I haven't told our son the real reason his mother isn't around. I just said she was on vacation for a couple of weeks. He's in school, so at least he has that routine to keep him occupied. I don't know how long I can keep up the lie, but for now, it seems to be working. He hasn't asked too many questions, but I can tell he misses her. A few days ago, the private detective contacted me. He said he had gathered the evidence. The relief I felt was immense. Finally, I had something concrete to use in court. I immediately started looking for a good lawyer. I went through biographies, looking for someone with a solid reputation and experience in cases like mine. When I found one, I sent him all the evidence I had collected. He wrote back saying he needed some time to go through everything. In the meantime, I've been trying to keep busy. Work has been a welcome distraction, and I've been spending more time with my son. We've started new routines, just the two of us. It's not the same, but it's something. I've been making an effort to be more present for him, to make sure he feels loved and supported. It's hard, but I'm doing my best. Seeing Sarah at the house was tough. She looked like a mess, and part of me wanted to comfort her, but I knew I couldn't. She made her choices, and now she had to live with them. When she tried to blame me for what happened, it took everything in me to stay calm. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how much she had hurt me, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. Instead, I just stood there, listening to her excuses and feeling my anger grow. I've been thinking a lot about what to do next. The lawyer said he needed time to review the evidence, but I'm impatient. I want this to be over. I want to move on with my life and start rebuilding. But I know these things take time, and I have to be patient. One thing that's been helping is talking to my brother. He's been a rock through all this. We've spent a lot of time together, talking about the divorce and what my future might look like. He's given me some good advice, but more than that, he's just been there for me. It's good to have someone who understands, someone who's on my side. My friends have been great too. They've been checking in on me, making sure I'm okay. We've gone out a few times, and those moments of normalcy have been a lifeline. It's good to laugh and forget about everything, even if just for a little while. I still haven't decided whether to reach out to Sarah and try to get some closure. Part of me wants to, but another part of me is so angry and hurt that I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her for what she did. Trust is shattered, and I don't know if it can ever be rebuilt. If anyone has any advice on how to handle this, I'd really appreciate it. How do you cope with a betrayal like this? How do you rebuild your life when everything has fallen apart? And most importantly, how do I help my son through this? He's the most important thing in my life, and I just want to make sure he's okay. Talking to the private detective was surreal. I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd need to hire one, but desperate times call for desperate measures. The detective was professional and didn't ask too many questions, which I appreciated. He promised to get me the evidence I needed, and he delivered. The photos and videos he sent were hard to look at. Seeing Sarah with that guy, laughing and acting like they were a couple, was like a knife to the heart, but I needed to see it. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it was. Now I have something to use in court, something that proves she was unfaithful. I've been trying to stay strong, but it's not easy. There are days when I feel like I'm falling apart, but I know I have to keep it together for my son. He needs me now more than ever. The lawyer has been reassuring. He said we have a strong case, and that gives me some hope. But I know there are no guarantees. Divorce is messy, and I'm prepared for a fight. I just hope it doesn't drag on too long. I want to move on with my life and start fresh. If you've been through something similar, I'd love to hear your stories. How did you cope? How did you move on? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to stay strong, but some days it feels like I'm barely holding on. Thanks for listening, everyone. It feels good to get this off my chest. Your support means more than you know. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. Everything seemed to be going well for a while. I was working, taking care of my son, and even finding some time to relax. Life was starting to feel a bit normal again. But then something happened yesterday that threw everything off balance. I was at home, trying to enjoy a quiet evening, when I heard loud banging on my front door. It startled me, and my heart started racing. When I looked through the peephole, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was my wife's coach, the guy she cheated on me with. He was banging on my door and shouting incoherently. I had no idea what he was yelling about, but he looked furious. I immediately called the police and then texted my friend to come over and take a video from a distance. I needed proof of this insanity. My friend arrived in a few minutes and started recording from across the street. Meanwhile, the coach kept pounding on the door and screaming. It felt like an eternity before the police arrived. Just before the police got there, I heard a loud crack. The coach had broken the lock on my door and was about to burst in. I backed away, ready to defend myself if necessary, but thankfully the police showed up just in time. They pulled him away from the door and started questioning him. When the police asked me what happened, I explained that he had broken my lock and was trying to force his way into my house. I showed them the broken lock, and then my friend came over and showed them the video he had taken. The coach was yelling something about Sarah and how I was ruining her life. Honestly, it was hard to make sense of his ranting, but it was clear he was out of control. The police fined him and told him to stay away from my property. I don't know who put him up to this. Probably Sarah, but it was incredibly stupid. The whole situation left me shaken. Just when I thought things were calming down, this happens. Now, of course, the court date is looming. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but a part of me is eager to see Sarah's reaction when she finds out she isn't getting anything. The lawyer has been great, keeping me updated and making sure all the papers are in order. He wrote to me recently, saying everything is ready, so the trial is coming up soon. I'm trying to stay positive and focused, but it's hard. This whole ordeal has been exhausting. I keep thinking about what Sarah did and how she betrayed me. It's a constant struggle to keep those thoughts from consuming me, but I have to stay strong for my son. He's the most important thing in my life, and I need to be there for him. Work has been a good distraction. It's something I can control, something that keeps me grounded. My colleagues have been supportive, and my boss has been understanding about my situation. It's good to have that stability when everything else feels so uncertain. I've been leaning on my friends and family a lot. They've been amazing, offering support and advice. My brother has been especially helpful, always there to listen and offer a shoulder to lean on. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone in this, even when it feels like the world is crashing down around me. If anyone has any advice on dealing with court battles or how to handle my son's questions when the time comes, I'd really appreciate it. This whole situation is new to me, and I'm trying to navigate it as best as I can. Sometimes it feels like I'm just stumbling through the dark, hoping to find a light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks again for all your support. It means a lot to me to know that there are people out there who care and are willing to help. I'll keep you all updated as things progress. Hey everyone, I'm back for another update, and today, I'm celebrating a surge of strength. It feels like the beginning of living a full life again. Yesterday was the trial, and let me tell you, it was something. I've squeezed out the maximum of what I could from this situation, and I want to share it with you all. So let's rewind a bit. We were preparing for the trial, and my lawyer and I were confident. He kept telling me we were going to destroy them. No parents or relatives showed up for moral support. Just me and my lawyer against Sarah, her lawyer, and that damn coach. The morning of the trial, I woke up feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. I knew this was my chance to finally get some closure, to make Sarah face the consequences of her actions. My lawyer and I met up early to go over everything one last time. He was a rock, steady and reassuring. "We've got this," he said. "They don't stand a chance." We arrived at the courthouse, and I saw Sarah standing there with her lawyer and the coach. They looked tense, and seeing them together made my blood boil. But I kept my cool. I wasn't going to let them see me sweat. As we walked into the courtroom, I could feel the tension in the air. This was it, the final showdown. We took our seats and I glanced over at Sarah. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Good, I thought. She should be ashamed. The judge entered, and the trial began. My lawyer started by presenting the evidence we had gathered. The photos, the videos, the testimonies. He laid it all out in a clear, concise manner. Sarah's lawyer tried to counter, but it was weak. They didn't have much to go on, just Sarah's word and some flimsy excuses. Then it was Sarah's turn to testify. She tried to paint herself as the victim, saying she felt neglected and lonely. She even had the nerve to say that I drove her to this because I didn't pay enough attention to her. It took everything in me not to stand up and shout at her. The coach was next. He tried to defend their actions, claiming they were just close friends and that I had misunderstood everything. But the evidence was clear, and the judge wasn't buying it. My lawyer cross-examined him, tearing apart his weak arguments and exposing the lies. Finally, it was my turn. I told my side of the story, how I found out about the affair, the pain it caused me, and how it affected our son. I stayed calm, but I made sure the judge understood the depth of the betrayal. I could see Sarah squirming in her seat, and it felt good to know she was feeling the heat. When all was said and done, the judge made their decision. Sarah lost. The judge ruled in my favor, citing the overwhelming evidence of her infidelity and deceit. She wasn't getting anything. No part of the house, no spousal support. She looked horrified, even ashamed, as the verdict was read. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. After the trial, I found out that Sarah had gone to stay with her parents. I didn't feel any regret or sympathy for her. She made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. This was the consequence of her actions, and I had no intention of letting her off the hook. Standing outside the courthouse, I took a deep breath and felt a wave of relief wash over me. This chapter of my life was finally coming to a close. It wasn't the end, but it was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild and move forward. I'm still processing everything, but I wanted to share this with you all. Your support has meant so much to me, and I hope my story can offer some encouragement to anyone going through something similar. Stay strong, and don't let the bastards grind you down. We've got this. Hey everyone, it's been 3 months since my last update, and I'm glad to say things have finally started to look up. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, but I can confidently say that the storm has passed, and the sun is shining once again. After the trial, I felt an incredible sense of relief. The judge's ruling was a major victory for me, and it gave me the strength to move forward. But as life often does, it threw another curveball my way. A few weeks after the trial, Sarah called our son. She manipulated him, telling him that I was to blame for everything that happened. She painted herself as the victim and tried to turn him against me. It broke my heart to see him so confused and hurt. I realized then that I needed to take more drastic measures to protect both of us. I deleted Sarah's number from my phone, blocked her on all social media, and removed every trace of her from my life. It was painful to erase the good memories, but I knew it was necessary. I couldn't let her toxicity seep back into our lives. Once I had cut Sarah out completely, I felt a sense of peace. I continued to go to the gym and work out. It became my sanctuary, a place where I could clear my head and focus on my well-being. The physical exercise was great for my mental health, and I started to feel good again. My strength and stamina increased, and I began to see the positive changes in my body and mind. Spending more time with my family and friends on weekends became a priority. We had been through so much, and I wanted to reconnect with the people who mattered most. We had BBQs, went on hikes, and just enjoyed each other's company. It reminded me of the importance of having a strong support system. My friends were amazing, always there with a joke or a shoulder to cry on. Their presence was a constant reminder that I wasn't alone. My brother, who had been my rock throughout this entire ordeal, continued to be an incredible source of support. He helped me with everything, from the legal battles to just being there when I needed someone to talk to. I can't thank him enough for all he's done. He never hesitated to drop everything and come to my aid. Whether it was helping me fix something around the house or just grabbing a beer and talking about life, he was always there. I'm incredibly grateful for him and his unwavering support. As the weeks turned into months, I started to reflect on my life. I realized that for years, I had been so focused on my family that I had forgotten to take care of myself. I neglected my health, my dreams, and my future. I was so caught up in being the provider and protector that I lost sight of my own needs. This whole experience was a wake-up call. It taught me that I needed to prioritize myself, to invest in my own happiness and well-being. I began to set new goals for myself. I started thinking about my career, my hobbies, and what I wanted out of life. I enrolled in some professional development courses to improve my skills and open up new opportunities. I also picked up some old hobbies that I had abandoned over the years. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. It was therapeutic and allowed me to express myself in ways I hadn't in a long time. One of the most important lessons I learned through all of this is the importance of self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. I started meditating, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on the positive aspects of my life. It wasn't easy at first, but with time, it became a part of my daily routine. I also started dating again. It was a daunting prospect at first, but I knew I couldn't let my past define my future. I met some amazing people and learned a lot about myself in the process. It was refreshing to connect with others and see that there was life beyond my failed marriage. I didn't rush into anything serious, but just knowing that there were new possibilities out there was encouraging. Through all of this, my son has been my biggest motivation. I want to be the best father I can be for him. I want to show him that even when life knocks you down, you can get back up and come out stronger. He's been resilient through all of this, and I'm so proud of him. We've grown closer, and our bond is stronger than ever. We spend a lot of time together, just the two of us, and I make sure he knows he's loved and supported. I've also made sure to keep the lines of communication open with him. I want him to feel comfortable talking to me about anything. We have regular dad and son nights where we do something fun together, like going to the movies or playing video games. It's important to me that he knows he can always count on me. Looking back, it's hard to believe how far we've come. The pain and betrayal I felt seemed insurmountable at the time, but with the support of my family and friends, I managed to overcome it. I'm stronger now, both physically and emotionally. I've rebuilt my life, and I'm excited about the future. I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your support. Your comments, messages, and advice have meant the world to me. Knowing that there were people out there who cared and wanted to help made a huge difference. I hope my story can offer some encouragement to anyone going through something similar. Stay strong, and don't let the bastards grind you down. In closing, I want to leave you with this. Don't forget to take care of yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of life and neglect your own needs. But self-care is crucial. Make time for yourself, pursue your passions, and surround yourself with people who lift you up. Don't let toxic people into your life who will only bring you down.